Hello, welcome to another episode of the Ripples of Courage podcast. I am Rock, your host. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how to strike a balance between contentment and ambition. So, I've been thinking about this for a long time already, but also more recently. And I don't necessarily have like the answer to this, at least not before this episode. I did a little bit of research just to see what's out there and kind of curated like what makes sense to me. And I'm going to share it to you. But the reason that I also got interested in this topic is it's just recently. I've just, well, for the longest, I've been seeing, and you probably come across this as well. Like you go online, you go to social media, or like you read articles, and you read a lot of stuff about success, um, the importance of pushing yourself, pushing beyond your comfort zone, and you know having relentless focus and grit and stuff like that, so that you can be successful and that you can have uh, an extraordinary life, right? And being very, very ambitious with with your goals. And then on the other hand, I also see a lot of articles and posts that are also very inspiring, and they are around you know um, being present, being contented with what you have, being grateful. And yeah, it just makes me curious because I ask myself, um, how ambitious should I be? And how contented should I be? And like, if, because right now I'm um, trying to really nurture an attitude of being content, being present, and choosing happiness. So if you've been listening to the podcast, like there's a lot of backstory around that. And I'm in that space. I'm in that headspace. I'm in that journey, that mode. And sometimes I ask myself, am I being too complacent now? Am I, parang, am I just having too much fun right now? I'm doing this. I really like doing this. And yeah, um, am I not pushing myself beyond my comfort zone enough? Am I not being ambitious enough? I always have those questions these past few days, and it just so happened like I saw another post just yesterday, and I thought, okay, I need to think more about this. How do I make sense of these two things and try to operationalize that almost like in my life? Because I also think maybe I have this tendency na parang taking an idea and like taking it a little bit to the extreme. Not naman so much to the extreme, but I guess I probably have that tendency like, okay, this is about self-love, and like, I'm gonna go all in almost. Or maybe I think I do, but maybe I'm wrong. Whatever. But but anyway, um, it's so early and I'm already blabbering. But let me get to the point. I guess the biggest thing, I think that the most high level thinking that I can have around these two concepts is actually that they are not mutually exclusive, and they aren't really in competition or in conflict. Kasi I think the question that I had around like how do I balance, like if I'm being too ambitious, then I'm not contented. Kind of makes sense, right? Because if I'm saying like I want all these things for the future, it's almost like saying what I have right now isn't enough. So parang I'm not contented. And at the same time, or like on the other hand, if I say like I'm very happy with what I have right now, I'm super grateful. This is enough. And it's like, okay, um, where does ambition go? And I I almost like imagine them as like being in two opposite poles or direction. But yeah, that's the thing that I realized. And like I think how I want to think about it is that yun nga, hindi sila in conflict. I can still be very ambitious and still be content. And I'm gonna share how that could be. So I've listed a couple of things that, I could probably remind myself of, or like do, in order to sort of balance that. I'm not even sure if balance is the right term. Because when you say balance, parang ano pa rin siya, diba? Parang there's still weight, you're conflicting. And I'm not entirely sure if there's an actual trade off. And you'll understand why. So, first thing, um, in terms of like operationalizing this idea of you can be still very ambitious and be content is first, be ambitious and set high goals. Do that. But be sure that you understand why you want them. Be sure that it's clear to you why you're even chasing that dream or that thing. And really just making sure that the goals that you're setting are actually your goals. Because I think it's very easy. It's very easy for us to actually be chasing things that we think we want, we think are our goals, but are not really our goals, are not really what we want. One example of this, but by the way, I want you to take everything I say with a grain of salt, as always, because I'm still thinking about this. This is not set in stone, but this is how I want to think about this at the moment. And if you have, ideas for how I can improve how I'm thinking about this, please comment or send me a message, me, and I would really want to hear it. But yeah, as I was saying, so an example of this is I have a company now, diba? I have an agency, and we're doing well. Income is good. It's it's actually it's actually hitting my goal. Like I would say, siguro like a couple of years before, this is a very ambitious goal, or this is an ambitious enough goal. But because I'm hitting it now, I'm having questions whether I'm being ambitious enough. Um, so anyway, business is okay. We're having so much fun. I have a very good dynamic with my team, and um, and we're just having fun. And we're able to deliver the service to the clients. I'm not stressed out. I'm actually more stressed about the idea na I'm being complacent. Maybe I'm being complacent. That's why I'm wondering about this. And so I had this call with the group because I'm part of the tribe. I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a group of freelancers and agency owners, and it's like a mastermind kind of thing. And yeah, I asked about that a little bit. Na how do you know when it's time to grow? And it was very helpful because the answer that I got actually was that yun nga, you have to understand why you actually want to grow. Is it because you really want to grow? Diba? You really want to have more clients, make more profit, grow your company, have many, many employees? Is that really what you want? Or do you really want that? Or are you also just being pressured to grow? Because everybody wants to grow, everybody wants to scale, everybody wants to be an empire. I'm exaggerating, but And that's a very good question, diba? That's a very good reflection. And honestly, I'm still reflecting on it, um, because I feel like I wanted I wanted the business so that I can sustain myself, my family, you know, have some for the future. Um, and I think I'm getting that. And at the same time, I wanted the business because I wanted to have more freedom, like time to do other things like this, like my music. So I'm learning to play keyboard now and hopefully make more music. And I'm in a place where I'm actually able to do that. So it's a good question. Why do I want to grow? And truthfully, I mean, why not, right? I want the growth in terms of the income, and I could be having more for myself and for my family, and for the other things that I want to do and I want to fund. I have like I have nonprofit ideas that I want to be able to fund. So there's that actual desire. But at the same time, yun nga, I'm reflecting whether I'm just being pressured by everybody's growth and by the idea of growth itself. So I'm reflecting on that. But yeah, that's the thing. It's the number one thing. You have to be sure what we really want and whether the goals or the ambitions that we're setting for ourselves are really the things that we want. And I guess if I were to answer the question for myself, and this is, you know, I think I still need a little bit of time to answer, but I would say like, I want the growth, but it's not just a little bit, not an explosive growth. I see just incremental growth, and I'm super happy about it because it allows me to still do the other things. So that's where I am. But that's number one. So be ambitious and set very high goals. Set, goals, whatever goals. Be ambitious, set your goals. But just be clear why you want them. And make sure that they are your own and not somebody else's dreams and goals imposed on you or society's expectations of you. So speaking of expectation, the next item is to manage your expectation. Kasi usually that's where disappointment comes from. So when we have expectations we are not meeting. And I just realized that many times, actually in my case, it was just because I didn't manage my expectations well enough. Like I would be expecting too much from something or from myself as well, like something that's not realistic. So for example, I'm not doing a lot of things. I'm doing a lot of things right now. One example is I'm trying to play the keyboard, so I'm learning. But of course, I don't really have so much time to practice. Diba? Like I have an hour a day. Actually, it was probably good enough. It's so addicting. Like I have to have a timer, otherwise I'm gonna spend the entire day doing it. So I do it like an hour, probably exceeds it sometimes. But I have to manage my expectation as to how much I can learn, how much I can progress. And I have to, understand that I'm doing this while I'm doing all other things. And that's a choice that I'm making. And so I have to calibrate my expectations of myself and expectations around all the other things I'm doing. Like if I'm giving like just 35% of my time in the business, or probably 40-50% of my time in the business, then it's going to grow or to move at a rate that's about half or less if I were to devote all my time. Diba? But that is a decision I'm making. That is a choice I made, that I'm going to do half on the business and half on other things. And so I need to accept that I can only go a certain level so that I don't become disappointed. But I think that doesn't mean now we're losing ambition, diba? Because I think for me, I'm questioning whether I'm not ambitious enough with the business, right? And that's valid, I think. But I guess what I'm realizing is that the business itself isn't my ambition. I'm being ambitious about all the things that I can do, all the things that I can manage at the same time. Because that's what I want. Obviously, it didn't work for me doing one thing exclusively. It's just not how I am made or how I am. So I just need things. I just need, variety in my life. And that's where my ambition is. I'm being ambitious about having all these things and still hitting a certain realistic level in all this. So I'm not gonna be like a very good musician because I don't really have as much time. I'm not probably gonna produce really, really awesome podcast because I also have this a certain percentage of my time and my attention going into this. This is not a full-time thing and stuff like that. And so managing my expectations so that I don't become disappointed, but at the same time still being very ambitious about this. So yeah. The third thing is to be present and enjoy every bit of it. Um, I don't know if parang sirang plaka na ako with like saying this. I don't know how many times I've said it already in the previous vlogs. Vlogs. Well, this is like a blog in the previous episodes. Um, but it's super true. To be in the present and enjoy every bit of it. I see ambition as something that resides or that is in the future. Diba? Your ambition is what you want to happen in the future. But your contentment resides on the present. It's in the now. Diba? And you can be very ambitious. Like have so very, 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 very extraordinary goals. Diba? And you're probably not hitting them at the moment because they're so extraordinary. But you can still be contented right now and make the choice and just be present and enjoy what you have. That could probably be the hard work that your ambition requires from you. And you still enjoy that because you know that leads towards your ambition. And you know from step one that ambition is really what you want, is really true to you. But also like with being present. And I learned this from a lesson I took. It's called A Quest for Self-Mastery. And it goes something like the gift or the work itself is the gift. The work itself is the gift. And I'm trying to really live by that, because I think part of my frustrations in the past was because I really associated and depended my happiness, my self-worth on success, or like on achieving things, or like achieving the outcomes I've set for myself. And if you think about it, it makes sense. It makes sense. You want to achieve what you want, you become happy when you achieve that. But that's very dangerous as well, because there's just so many things in play. There's just so many things beyond our control. And many of the things, and if we're talking about ambition and being very ambitious, we're talking about long time frames. So it takes a lot of patience to get there. And if you only care about the outcome at the end, then you're going to be miserable during the present, during the process. Diba? So it's very important to be present and to enjoy every bit of it, every part of it. So yun. Yeah, just don't obsess too much on the outcome or like the success. The fact that you're doing it right now and you're making however little progress is already a win. It's already, you know, it's the gift. The act of it is a gift. The act of it is the gift. Diba? I'm really trying to, to really absorb that. Because I feel like I didn't have that kind of thinking before, and it was just not healthy. So now I'm trying, and like this, this is such a blessing, that I get to record this, I get to do this, and it doesn't feel like work because this is a blessing. Well, for one, I really like this, but yeah, but also like the work that I have like in the business, I manage the business, but I still do some stuff for clients, and I just enjoy it. I just I just love it because it's the gift. That work is what allows me to earn, what allows me to also pay my staff, what allows me to serve my clients, make them happy, and make them, um, you know, um, loyal to us and stuff like that. And it is really the gift. So, yeah, it's easier said than done as well. Being present and just enjoying the ride. Because, when the going gets tough, yeah, it's really hard. And sometimes um, I think, maybe I'm quite okay right now. I'm very happy and I'm saying all these positive things because I'm in a good place. Diba? And I still fear, that, things will fall apart and I would lose everything and I would lose my, and all these things are like, yeah, you know, because it's easier said than done. But I'm really trying to have this kind of mindset. And so far, I feel like if you're actually in this kind of mindset, it almost like snowballs, diba? Um, yeah, I really hope that I don't, ano ba yung tawag dyan? Hindi ko mausog yung sarili ko, or like I don't jinx, I guess it's the correct term, jinx myself. And then things start to crumble. Um, but yeah, I'm at the point where I'm just really trying to enjoy everything and like taking things as part of life. This is living. Whatever I'm doing now, everything is just part of life. And I have ambitions. I created plans to reach those things, to make my ambitions a reality happen. And every day, I just try to do what I said I would do. And in the process of doing them, that's already joy. So, ayun. And yeah, that makes me content. And again, even if like, for some reason I don't actually achieve my goals, it would be sad, but it wouldn't be. But I think I would still have this sense of contentment that I have right now. That I did what I had to do, you know, and I enjoyed my life and no regrets. So, ayan. And then next is don't this is so important. Don't compare yourself from others. I actually got this from I think from Chat GPT. So I searched, diba? And I tried, okay, what would Chat GPT tell me? This is one of the things Chat GPT said. Don't compare yourself from others. And this is true. This is very important kasi ano it's really toxic. So that's why when you go to social media, to just be aware, that what you're seeing isn't everything, diba? Because you always see like the good things. People have this, people do this, they're on travel, they're all the perfect stuff, and you start to feel like, oh, like I'm such a loser. But understand that it's not everything. You're not seeing everything. And also, just don't compare. Just don't compare yourself. And it's very interesting because I had this conversation with someone that did some research in some countries, and so they compare. So interestingly, hindi ko na mention yung country, but interestingly, the country, they did the same research in two countries. One country, the other country is much, you can say poorer than the other country. Economically is not as good or like worse than the other one. But what they found out was that people in this country that had lower that is more poor, is that a word? They're actually happier on the average, happier than the people in the other country that was a little bit better off than them. And it's such an interesting finding, diba? But the reason for that is that yung other country, although it's better off on the average than the other country, there's more inequality in that country. So there are more rich people, there are also more poor people, and there's a big difference. Whereas in the other country, na although mas poor sila on the average, but mas homogeneous yung economic status nila. So they're not quite different from each other, and they're happier. And that's because yung happiness natin mostly naka-base din sa how we're comparing ourselves from our peers, diba? And now with social media, you could be comparing yourself from people who just are much more privileged than you are. And again, also you don't have the full picture. So mahirap talaga siya. Napakadaling mag-compare, napakadaling ma-feel that you're not doing enough or you're not enough. But yeah, so try not to compare and focus on yourself, focus on what you really want. And also, like, the worst thing, kasi like when we compare ourselves with others, the risk is that we might want to chase the same things that we see from others. Like they're doing this, like they're so rich na, they seem to be happy, they're like doing a lot of stuff because they're doing this, and I want to do that now. And yeah, it's easy to fall into that trap. But I think the worst thing that could happen is, to spend your life chasing something only to realize the moment you get it that that thing wasn't really what you wanted, diba? Wasn't really what's true to you. It's just something that you saw and you thought that's cool. And probably because other people are happy with that you might be happy. And yeah, that's just it's just sad. But at the same time, so while I was saying that, I had this thought as well. Like, sometimes we also don't know what we want. But, it really pays to reflect on that. But let's just say we're at the point where we don't know what we want. And it's okay to experiment. It's okay to try things. It's okay if, after trying something, you find out like, this is not what I want. That's okay. Actually, that's valid. I mean, that's how that's how it should be. Sa akin, actually, I envy for the longest time. Like I envy people who knew much earlier what they wanted in life. Like parang high school pa lang, they figured out, I want this as a college degree and I'm gonna do this and they're doing it. I'm like, oh wow, you've got your life figured out. And I've been like, I feel like I'm like almost like lost in a way na parang I don't know, like I'm trying stuff and I don't know if this is what's for me. And so and I had this thought na I feel like I'm in a no, my life is like in a buffet, you know? I don't know what my favorite food yet is because I'm new to this buffet. And so I need to try many stuff. I need to taste food. But I guess once I found, and this is true for me, once I found like the taste that I want, I tend to stick to that. And I guess, you can do the same in life. Um, there are more like systematic way of doing it. Diba? You still wanna filter the things. You don't wanna be trying things that quite obviously you wouldn't like. But yeah, even that, what's obviously. So yeah, I got how do you say? Parang nawala ako sa ano. But I guess you know what I'm saying. Yeah, about comparing. So just really just understanding yourself, what you really you want, and recognizing that whatever you see, whether it's online or in person, you think someone you're seeing in the office or wherever is like, having the time of their lives and having like a fantastic life. We don't have, the full picture. So, yeah. And so the last thing, which I probably say this always, and this will sound like a cliche, but really practice gratitude and celebrate. Um, so because again, ambition is in the future. It requires a lot of work to get there, but you can still be content in the moment, at the present, if you practice being grateful. Parang connected sa sinabi ko kanina, di ba? That the work itself is the gift. And you're just grateful for it. And you celebrate it. Every small achievement, every small progress you celebrate. And ako, I feel like for myself, I do practice gratitude like every day. I start the day really, practicing gratitude. Try to end the day as well, but probably not. I'm not as good as that in the evening. But I really try to practice gratitude, and like I always say thanks, thank you, Lord, and whatever happens. Um, but I think one thing that I wasn't doing before was celebrating, and it's different. I think um, I think it could be, or at least for me, like celebrating myself. And I'm saying this because I remember I actually had a session with my coach before. And like after the session, then nag-uusap kami, and then like she asked me like, okay, what's our key takeaways from this call? And so, of course, there's a lot, but then I got really emotional at one point when I said, because I was saying all the insights, and then nabanggit ko like, yeah, I should celebrate, and then ano, na parang naging emotional ako. Naiyak ako actually, naiyak talaga ako. And then I realized, oh shit, I haven't been celebrating myself, really. And it was like, yeah, it was like an eye opener now. Yeah, I I haven't been celebrating myself. Like something happened. I'm very grateful, you know. For example, I got a job. I got offered this job, which was like a dream come true as well. And I was like super, super grateful, super grateful, super grateful. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the trust. Thank you, Lord, for this, opportunity. And that's it. And then the next thing on my mind is that I'm gonna do my best to not waste this opportunity. I'm gonna pour everything. I'm gonna give it my all. I'm taking this so seriously. You know, I didn't even celebrate the fact that I got it, or like look at it. I'm very grateful, but I guess yung naging problem ko lang is that um I didn't extend the same, maybe I didn't extend the same gratitude to myself. Like I wasn't necessarily like grateful to myself that I did whatever I did that actually made me worthy of that, or like deserving of whatever that blessing is. I just right away felt indebted. Man, medyo taking the ano. Well, I think it's not taking gratitude to the extreme. It's just like forgetting that gratitude, you're included in that. You can celebrate yourself and be grateful for all the efforts that you're putting in. Diba? So just please don't forget that. Yeah. It's so funny. It's so funny talaga when I remember that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I even had to, put a reminder on my phone. I actually have like my screensaver wallpaper. I don't know. In nasa phone ko are actually like some of the affirmations that I need to remind myself of. And like celebrating me is one of those. So I want to share with you that reminder. Celebrate yourself. And that doesn't mean, spending so much money or like, um, or splurge or indulge or whatsoever. It's just like, giving yourself a pat on the back, or like just, great job, things like that. Okay na yun. So anyway, um, yeah. So those, I guess, just to, wrap up and just to summarize, um, really the thing with ambition and contentment, they are not mutually exclusive. They don't contradict. They are not in conflict of each other. They reinforce. They reinforce each other so that you can have a very fulfilling life, diba? Wherein your ambition gives you a direction. That's your North Star, like where you wanna be in the future. And your contentment is something that you practice every day. You practice every moment. You practice in the present. It's a choice that you're making every time, whatever you're doing, especially when you're doing the things that are actually contributing to you achieving your ambitions. So that's the high level. That's the how I want to think about it. And quick summary of like how I'm operationalizing, like still be ambitious and set your goals, but just make sure that they really are your ambition, your goals, and not somebody else's. And then, of course, you want to manage your expectations and you want to be present and enjoy everything. And don't compare yourself from others. And of course, practice gratitude and celebrate your progress and celebrate yourself. And just a bonus, siguro, I think generally there's a pressure from society to live an extraordinary life. Like you have to be special. Like you have to do amazing stuff. You have to do some really groundbreaking stuff to have an extraordinary life. But I guess I just want to end this episode with a reminder that you don't have to be extraordinary to live a meaningful life. Diba? You define the life that you want. And you define what really matters to you. So, yeah, at the end of the day, it's you who define what life should be for you, what a fulfilling life is for you. And you get to choose that every day, every moment. So, our question for reflection is, what is your truest ambition? All right. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode and I hope you got something valuable out of this. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope you subscribe to the podcast and you also subscribe to our social media accounts. We're on Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. And if you have other thoughts about this topic, please share them in the comments. And also, if you have suggestions for topics to talk about, feel free to send us your suggestions. We have a link on the website, so you can go to ripples of courage castos.com. And yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much. Lots of love to you. I hope